2013 is an Olympiad year. The Olympiad, we figure in the budget, will cost us net of sponsorship fees roughly $108,000. The World Youth, we have figured that we have budgeted net of fees paid will cost us out of pocket something like $42,000. And then the other two international tournaments combined $25,000. So we have about $175,000 that must flow out in support of our international tournament teams, the FIDE tournament side of what we do. So that's fairly significant, and that is way up over last year, primarily because we didn't have the Olympiad piece in there. Or the Pan Am. The Pan Am Youth was 15 of that additional 25. So there's a big nut to crack that there's no way we're going to do 250 this year. If we did just as well last year, we're going to do 120 less. Okay? If we did just as good, it'll be 120 less. Now, we do have a couple of things that are really good. Our membership is actually up month over month. Our dues revenue is up month over month. And we're projecting that to continue to increase without an increase in dues structure. Not increase a lot. The budget is $20,000 more in dues revenue for the year ended 2013 than it was for the year ended actual was for 2012. But it points out an interesting problem that we have within the Federation. We support this Federation on membership dues. There was some guy who proposed we ought to get rid of all our membership dues and just do it under ratings fees. Membership dues for the next year are projected to be almost $1.7 million. Ratings fees are less than $140,000. So ratings fees are sufficient to cover the cost of running the rating system. Not a whole lot more than that by the time you add up all the cost of running the rating system. They're just not. So we have evolved through time to be supported by our membership dues, and at this present, the budget does not contemplate any radical transformation from that approach. One thing that is significant in the new budget is that Mr. Nana completed our magazine printing contract was up. Mr. Nana completed his work to renew that contract, and because of the economic situation, as much as anything else, demand for printing services has declined. And as a result, the ability to negotiate those contracts improved significantly. And I think our new contract, with the adding of the color and everything else, is still, what, $30,000 from last year, roughly? I'm sorry? $70,000?
Well, over the 3-year period, we're going to save between $60,000 and $70,000.
Over 3 years, we'll save $67,000 over the prior contract. So that's a significant improvement there. Outside of that, in the budget, there are not any really large changes. One thing that does jump out at you if you look at the numbers is the number called contract employees. We have a significant number of our people who do not work out of Crossville, work out of other places, and are actually not direct employees of the Federation. Many of those are involved with the publication of the magazine. So we have several folks who walk and squawk like Federation employees, but they're really contract employees. One of whom is Dan Lucas, who is our director of publications, and several of our other people involved in that. So when you look at contract employees, just think of them as adding to the salary line, really, because from our approach, that's what they go work. And I think those are the largest single items in there. You did point out one thing that will be different next year on the tournament side, tournament revenue side, is that we move into a super national cycle as well. So we will have super nationals the first weekend in April in Nashville in 2013 instead of having our 3 separate scholastic championships, spring scholastic championships. And it does put more eggs in one basket. It's an incredible atmosphere when we do it, however. And it has the potential to to do very, very well, or it has the potential to kind of crimp things compared to holding them individually. This last year, our overall numbers were up. The high school numbers were up, the elementary numbers were up, and our junior high numbers were down significantly. But our high school numbers were up more than our junior high was down. So because of the location of those tournaments, the junior high was in San Diego, the high school was in Minneapolis. I was in San Diego, I wasn't in Minneapolis. The numbers were, it appears that we had some people end up going to the high school rather than going to the junior high, since they had the ability to do that.
There was a conflict on the testing dates in New York with the junior high, and many of the junior high teams chose to go compete in high school. Also, the elementary was the second largest elementary we've ever had.
So our spring national tournaments do very well, taken as a whole. And even the one San Diego tournament financially turned out just fine. Yeah. Now there is a cost which is going up at a high rate that we don't have a good way to handle on, frankly, and that's our health insurance. The health insurance cost increased about 25% this year, and you know, we really don't know where that's going. You all follow the news just like I do. The change in our healthcare system has the potential to change costs dramatically, but I can't tell you which way it would take us. It's whether it would take us up or down. We do qualify as being a small employer, however. So, you know, we're in the under 50 employee category, so as a small employer, all the provisions that apply to a small employer will apply to us. So we'll see how that goes. And I don't know what we'll do. I think we're just going to have to wait and see. Hold on a minute. Randy, was there anything you wanted to add? I'm just springing that on you, but I didn't know if there was. I kind of covered most everything. I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to ask before I open up for questions. Or Joe, if there's anything you wanted to add. Yeah, we are. Oh, thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that. We did make one addition to it, which is reflected in our budget. Fairly significant addition, because we made a pretty significant hire. During the year, we added a payroll position, and that person is Robert McClellan, who is our new marketing director. Robert was on board in a temporary capacity in our spring scholastic championship series, and most of us, several of us met him who were involved in those events. And he's bringing a very interesting approach to some things. He didn't grow up in chess, but he's been involved in this documentary production, I think, which is how Bill got connected with him. He lives in Knoxville, and so that has given us an opportunity to see how he did on the cheap, I think. We went into it on a contract basis, and then Bill recommended to the executive board to bring him on board. And we've had some really interesting things happen. One of the things was that he put together a special promotion recently trying to lure back his lapsed members. I started to say expired members, and that's a different sort of problem. Lapsed members. Yeah, exactly. If you know any expired members who'd like to give us money, we'll do it. Lapsed members in honor of the 40th anniversary of the 1972 Fisher match. And so we renewed a significant number. It was like 220 some odd.
256, and that's considerably more than we would get more than 6 months expired in that whole month. And we did it in 3 days.
And it was done at a special rate of $19.72 as a
or 72 hours. It was available for 72 hours.
Yeah.
We're following that up. I'm still in some thunder.
That's okay.
We're following that up with a limited 10,000 postcard mailing to people we don't have email addresses for. This was only strictly done by email. We're testing it out with a 10,000 postcard mailing to see how that goes to celebrate the end of the match. And we're also going to roll out another email blast of you got one more shot to do this in celebration of the end, because the first one was so successful that we felt it was worth
Did I address the question? Okay. The last thing that I do want to talk about is our book and equipment situation. We have had some cash flow issues with our current provider, although by the end of our fiscal year, they were current on their payments, I believe. But we're into a new contract year, and we have continue to have some situations where they have not been able to meet the payment schedule that was in place under that contract, and we've had continuing negotiations with them over that. The contract is slated to run for another several years yet, I believe 5 more years, and but there are some issues there, quite candidly, and it's an issue that Bill is very well aware of, and I think he's kept the board, the executive board, informed of. It's an area of concern that I have. If we fail to collect those funds on a timely basis, it impacts us a couple of ways. One, it exacerbates the cash flow crunch during the summer. But second, it calls into concern the collectability of the amount, and that's significant. We don't collect that; it can make the difference between us having a surplus year or having a deficit year. So we are on top of that, but in all openness and candor, it is certainly a concern of mine that we're monitoring and going to have to stay on top of it. And I think that's probably all I can say about it at this point.
Right. I think it's fair to say we have something that is prepared to be signed within the next day or two that restructures the timing of the payment. Doesn't change anything about the limit. Again, restructures the timing of the payments over the next 2 years and then reverts back to the original contract after that. So I feel pretty good that we're in a much better place now, but it does change our cash flow planning and does make it to the way it was set up. It was very good for us because it would help out significantly cash through the summer, and we're not going to have that easing there.
At that point, I'll be happy to take the questions. Sunil, can I?
Yeah, just a quick question. The contract employees don't get health insurance.
No, they do not. The question was, do contract employees get health insurance? And the answer is no. Yes, sir.
The professional players health benefit fund, I don't know if this is the right venue for this. He said he thought they given to with 2014 coming, maybe changing this, the format of this somewhat so that we can provide assistance to GMs during Medicare age to get health insurance or something like this. Make it a little bit more systematic rather than it could be used for great things like John hasn't had a stroke, but on the other hand, it seems kind of arbitrary the way it's been done in the past.
I will guarantee you at this point, the question was, has there been consideration to summarize it, make sure I got it right, as to how the changes in the healthcare system under Obamacare would impact the way in which we operate the Professional Players Health Benefit Fund, and the answer to that question at this point is no. It hasn't been considered. Does it need to be considered as we move forward and we get some more framework around what actually is going to happen under that law? Then the answer to that question certainly does. In connection with that fund at the end of the year has $13,000 in it. We'll make this tomorrow. We'll make this report tomorrow because it wasn't in the delegates call. But the balance at the beginning of the year was just under $17,000. It started out with $16,700. It started out with $16,711. It earned $52 worth of interest. It received contributions from tournaments from the $1 additional fee of $5,435 and paid out $9,000 in benefits, ending the year with a balance of $13,198. The benefit payments that went out to one that was approved last year by the name of Asa Hoffman in the amount of $6,000, and also a gentleman by the name of Eric Schiller received $3,000. during this year. Those payments began.
Actually, the balance is there, so that's just the checking.
That's the balance in the checking account, I'm sorry.
There's $100,000 CD.
Yes,
102,000, a little over $102,000.
which that amount didn't change. And that amount didn't change. That was just the operations of the account that changed. So there's 102,000 in addition to that in these CDs. But that was the cash flow in the item for the year. So there was some question about that when I just received that earlier today. Yes.
How much is being paid out each year?
How much? It varies how much is being paid out each year is depending on what the requests are in the fund. There also is a limit as to how much can be paid to any one individual. So if the person reaches that limit, the payments
Yeah, lifetime.
lifetime limit, I believe, is $10,000.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions about financial matters?
Oh, come on, you've been alive for this.
Well, given the fact that I had 3 hours of governance this morning, and we got done a half an hour early, now after an hour and 25 minutes of this, I think we have probably exhausted this. Unless there are any other points, then I will declare that this workshop.
Very good case.
Oh, that's good. Well, has the budget, that document actually get it out? It's out in the back. So what the delegates have to do tomorrow, thank you for reminding me, is the opportunity to approve the budget. Given the fact that we've kind of explained what's there and you've had the option to ask questions on the straw poll, those who are in favor of the budget as we have it today, could you please raise your hand? Can you count for me, Randy?
Yes, I'll do that. I've never done that before.
Right.
Can you count?
They're big round numbers. When it comes up with.
21, 22, 23.
Manny.
What?
Manny.
23.
And anyone opposed to the budget as we have it out there?
2.
23.
No.
And any abstain from voting? 1. So I have 23, 0, and 1 on the budget. Being nothing else that I see needs to be done, we will finish more than half an hour early. Thank you for your attendance. There are no